So right now I'm at a drive shaft shop where these things have little U-joints. I'm going to put, this is your original end, and I'm going to put that end on this, and whatever size difference you can drill it out to make it work. So it's going to come out good. Fitting the shaft. And we did this the other shaft too. We cut it nice and slow while applying oil, and you'll see the and we cut slow so it doesn't fly off and hit our kneecaps. $71,000 seems like a lot. Send 2 videos now. It's over a minute, but it's all right. Don't rush. Like I said. There you go. Look at that. The outside of that to fit the newly machined inside of this, and then I weld it when I go back to the shop. So I guess turn off the radio. I really could have done this myself probably. He still charged me $65, but he reused your old joint. And he said that the other joint fit, the other cap fit in there. Now this is not the cap from the Toyota. It's another new cap. So I think he had a different inside diameter. But I asked him if it was the same, and he said no. And I'm looking at the other ones, and they're definitely different. I was like, oh, so it was easy for you. You didn't have to drill anything out or anything like that. But he goes, nah, it's 65. And I was like, okay. So he gave me a receipt. But I thought that was kind of fucked up, to be honest. But this is your new shaft. Okay, that's your original shaft, and this is the Toyota shaft that goes on the other spline shaft. And my friend machined the inside there, the outside here, and once it goes all the way down, then I have all this to fill in the weld, and that's going to hold like a son of a bitch. Ain't going nowhere. It's similar to what they did here on this, on the original one. So it's going to come out pretty good. Clean it up with the grinder. Not going anywhere. So, finish shaft goes on this guy. I can go all the way down. Actually, that's all it goes. It was going all the way down, but because this, this piece of 2 shafts, but basically I'm just going down to where the splines are, and it gives me room for adjustment. But also this slides because in case you get into an accident, it'll go down that much. So that's pretty much it. It's going to be right around there somewhere. When I tighten, when the bearing is inside here in the column, that's what's going to pull up on this. So it works out. Now I got to modify the piece that goes over here, and I got to make a piece for the back that adapts onto the piece I just had made at that shop. So so far so good. Not perfect. I can go more, but I'd rather there be more weld. Came out pretty good though. So I think some people would tell me, Mike, you're going too far. This is too much work. Believe it or not, once all that stuff in the column was out, this took me literally 3 minutes to take this out. This is not a big deal. So basically what I realized is that I had 2 different ends, and I had the guy put the U-joint on the longer end because it seemed like it was going to be just about a 1/4 inch off, but between the slotted holes and everything, I says, oh, I can do something here. So basically, this is where the steering column actually mounts. And every time I got here, you see, I was like, what's going on here? You know, I got it in one hole, and then the sheet metal's hitting there, and I'm like, okay, I could trim the sheet metal, but you know, the aluminum is right there. It's really not in a good place. So now that I have the whole thing out and there's no weight on the power booster, I got these guys in all the way, but it's still up. You see how it's on an angle? That affects the angle up top, and that one's even further. You see? Like I'm actually using the brake pedal to push it down, but it needs to go down more. It's not hitting here. Okay, that's clearing. It's grazing, and I mean grazing this. But you see, this is the, where am I? Okay, so this is it. This is the, if this is out of the way, that'll help. But you see what happens? I try to lift up this thing. It's I don't want to hurt the, I don't want to drop it on the floor. So I'd rather like leave out the 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch of spacing I put. Okay, and just get this whole brake pedal over. Now, this is where a stick shift car would have a stick shift pedal, and this is the switch for that, like the cutoff switch. It's the same thread as that. It would kind of be cool to have that, but I think the clutch would be too far away, really. However, if we put the brake pedal where the clutch was, then it might actually not be so far. I got to see. But I can just eliminate this bracket here, or make a new one and just slide it down, break the weld, slide it down, and get it more centralized. And then you just add spacers here to get the power booster rod in the right place. And I don't think, yeah, it doesn't seem like the power booster rod is going to get in the way. So this is pretty cool, you know. Like I thought I was going to have to hack up this whole piece here, which was doable, you know. And then you hang a bracket from, you know, you still have support that you weld, and you still have a bracket that's holding the thing here. Now, this is the return spring for the thing. Again, I could just weld a washer on there to put the to put it over some. I mean, this is probably not that difficult to modify now that I look at it. Obviously, you need this cover when it goes on. It's got to be a straight run. So pretty much all of this has got to be removed. Or relocated. Maybe the switch can be completely relocated, but you know, obviously this, like basically where the rod is here, that's where it's really got to be mounted instead of the angle here, excuse me. So now I can get a brake pedal TIG welded because it won't come loose. Believe me, I broke one of these one time on a truck, and I tried to weld it myself. It didn't come out right, and a guy TIG welded it, and then it was spot on. It never broke after that, and it's not going to break. But like I was thinking, maybe if you have we can get a, you know, a clutch rod, and wherever it comes down, have it welded to here, you know, right where this guy is, so it's more straight. You know, obviously the bending actually helps it, you know, I think to have a little more rigidity. But you know, I can weld an angle iron to it to kind of make it so it doesn't go anywhere. But it's so big, and the car is so little, it doesn't need that much pressure to really play with everything. I think it's gonna be really good. But the good news is having this out. Like first of all, I would take out the whole brake pedal and probably cut off this in the end. But once that's set, because I don't know if it's going to go down further, going to interfere with this. If I gotta, because I only have a tack weld in a couple of places. You know, I can leave this 1/4 inch spacing, or I can leave it alone. But you gotta have something here bolted it on, because the whole thing has torque. You know, and it's gonna play with that. So that being said, it's pretty interesting what I did here, because all of the other stuff that's hanging around really doesn't have a bearing on it. Now you may lose an AC hose going across here, or you may have to use that hose, make some kind of extender, and go around under the dashboard and come to the other side. You know, you're going to make something kind of custom for that. But I mean, if you have the center AC vents going, usually you get cool enough in the car, you know, once all that's working. So that's where I'm up against right now. Okay, now that I took out the shaft, this is flush. It's just touching there. I don't know if I should put a little relief there. Like I said, that particular thing for the brake switch will have to be cut off. Okay, but you can see where it used to be, where it was on that side of that bracket. So basically that bracket would have to be hacked off. And you see how this, I'm way away. I can go even further. But you see, even what I was thinking, this tab right here, to grind it off and flip it over and put it on here. And I'll use the brake switch where the clutch switch was. That's all. You know, now this is higher because that bracket, I can't, you know, I'm touching it instead of getting in between. It doesn't fit in between. And I don't think you'd want it that far away. But ultimately, if I can cheat this like that, I mean, you're talking about, I gather it's about 3/4 of an inch. Let me just get a visual.
Hello, Moto.
Okay, you're calling me. All right, this is just all shimming. Of course, I started grinding this way, and it was wrong. I had to grind this way because has to be relief, because this sticks out ever so slightly and it won't go in. But I need a spacer pretty much the size of that bushing right there. That brass bushing. You see, obviously I got to cut that off and flip it around. Of course it's moving in my vise. Why wouldn't it? So, right here, put the light on, and it misses. And then I'm going to cut that off and flip it, and it should, you know, I might have to extend it as well and just make it so it gets that way. That'll activate the switch, and it's as far as possible, you know, it's as far as being not over, you know, that's the most I can do, or least I can do, I should say. Okay, so with this guy in there, it puts a little pressure right there, so I may notch this area just so there's, you know, less issue, or if I don't notch it, I'll bend it down or make one cut and then bend something down, maybe support it later. But just to give you an idea, this is the other column, the rest of the column now on this. Now, this is the tricky part. This is a flat thing, and then it goes to a 45-degree thing right here, and it looks like it's pretty spot on. So basically, this has got to be parallel to this. The thing is, this metal here, it kind of curves up a little bit. It's like bent that way because this started moving. But pretty much, if you go here, you know, I'm getting roughly 1.5 inches. And, you know, if you can get an imaginary line, it's pretty good, you know. Here's the only problem. I thought this bearing here, which is a plastic bearing, which would be fine, but it's not really permanent in. It's not like held in by anything. And when I put the shaft in it, it just popped right out. So when you tighten the steering wheel onto all of this, you hope that it's right. Now, I'm looking at this and I'm trying to think what the hell was in front of this too. I didn't quite take a look before I started. What was what else was on this shaft? That's weird. I remember it because I did the measurements and I figured it was right. Yeah, like this guy is in this open window here. I would think that that's correct. Because, yeah, there's a stop here, so it finishes on a stop. I just forgot what else was bolted here. I mean, I gather it's something with the steering column. I don't know if it's some kind of shaft, but it's just a little weird. So anyway, so this guy here, you see, I just separated it. And originally I was going to say 2 bolts, you know, make a slash in here and here, and thread this and put 2 bolts in. But, you know, this has got to be kind of round, so I was thinking of a clamp, just a simple clamp. That way it still has the collapsible ability. So see how I just went down like that? That's how much it can collapse. But that means you can pull it. But if this is tight, it's not going to pull, okay? But truthfully, the center shaft can come out. If I hold this center shaft can come out. But I think it's too wide to go all the way through the whole unit. So basically, this guy just slips off. Obviously, like I said, if the steering wheel was on there, that's one thing. But this is pretty tight. These you hear that pop? But it's basically right down to there, and I have some room to go either way. So, and just to show you here, and forgive my mess. So if you put this part of the shaft in here, watch this. Like, I just barely push and the whole thing could come out. You know? Let me just get 2 hands. Okay, so now that's bottomed out. Right where it should be, because the front part of the shaft is the original shaft. You know, so basically it's being aligned by that. I mean, everything should be pretty cool, and then you can do that, but like I said, if you yanked on it hard enough, technically the whole shaft will come out. So I guess my next thing I'm trying to figure out, if I push, let's see what happens. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow. I know it's not touching a piece of metal. You hear a little scraping, but I think it does less of that when it's centered. But that's interesting. So, I barely touch it and it pops out. There must be something else that it's riding on. Oh, that's very interesting. I thought, you know, it's possible to slide out the shaft. But like I said, the shaft is kind of big over here where it's welded, so I didn't think it would go all the way through. I'm wondering what it's touching. It's funny, is you barely touch it, and the bearing comes right out. Oh, look at that, it still hits. So they thought of this. Ah. Sorry.